All of us women want to be loved and feel understood in our marriage, but still, fight is a real thing. When fights happen either due to a conflict or a disagreement over certain issue, one fight lead to another fight, and soon we land into a vicious cycle of continuous fights, one after another, and taking the reference from previous fights as well. We get tired, we want to get out of it, but we don't know how. Hello everyone, this is Renu here from My Ultimate Freedom. In today's video, I'm going to discuss how we can end these continuous fights that happen between us and our husbands. But before I talk about that, we need to understand why we should even end these continuous fights which we do with our husbands. Reason number one, these fights are very exhausting. You got married to your husband, you love him, you are sharing your whole life with him, but now due to certain disagreement or certain conflicts over few things, you are fighting with him and he's fighting back with you. So this back and forth fighting that happen, those arguments that happen, they waste so much of your time, so much of your energy and resources, and it leaves you drained, completely drained, which this time, energy and resources you could use to create a beautiful life for you, beautiful experiences for you and your husband, but you are wasting over fighting for some petty issues, some useless issues which you could resolve very easily. Now let's try to understand how we can come out of this vicious cycle of continuous back and forth fighting and how we can live a better life. There is a very famous philosopher, Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. He once said that sometimes war can be won by losing few battles and long-term goal can be achieved by accepting short-term reversals. This statement of his, how we can apply in our married life. So for example, your husband has this habit of keeping the wet towel on the bed, or your husband does not keep the trash can outside, or he forgets to do the household chores which you asked him to do multiple times. Or in my case, earlier days of my marriage, my husband had this weird habit of wearing the most wrinkled clothes in the world. So, or there is some deeper issues like you feel like he doesn't love you the way you want him to love you, or you feel like you are unheard in your relationship with him. So these kind of deeper issue or the small petty issues, you have to choose your battles wisely, and you have to distinguish between what is actually an issue and what is more of a nuisance. Sometimes certain things you feel like is an issue, actually when you think about it they can be nuisance only, and you can actually ignore them and move forward in your life too. You need to have very clear understanding of your actual expectation. For example, in software development, many time end users give so many requirements to a software developer, which all of the requirements can, for them, it's all are must have. But for a developer from the software perspective, that might be not all, might not be actually must have. Some requirements will be must have, some will be nice to have, and some should have. So the first of all, when the implementation happened, they just go with the must have requirements. So you need to understand what are your actually absolute must have in your relationships. And those must haves cannot be 5, 10, 15. Those must haves actually usually are 1 to 3 only. So you clearly understand, you need to know what your actual must haves have, and you need to have that understanding, and only then you can go and communicate it to your husband. First you need to know yourself. Now let me tell you one more thing from my own experience. Even if your husband fulfill all of your desires, all your expectations, whatever you ask him for, still it's a very much human nature that you will not be satisfied. You will find one or other reason to complain about. Number three, he completes me. This whole statement itself is a complete myth on its own. When God created you, He didn't create you one half person, He created you one whole person. Everything you want in your life, whatever you want to achieve, it's all already existing within you. You just have to become that person to identify all those qualities which are already existing you. No other person can complete you. You are one complete person. You have to understand that. That you understand only when you start working on your self development, you're working on your inner growth, on your inner self. Only then you understand that you are one complete whole person, your other person is not going to complete you. That's why, that is the reason you are so frustrated, you are in your marriage. That's why we get so frustrated, because other person is not coming up to our expectations. All those expectations we have in the relationship, we all can fulfill by our own. So what you have to do is you have to become that one complete person. Only then the relationship you are expecting will become the whole on its own. Number 4, find your trigger. You have to stop, you have to pause, and you have to sit down with yourself and reflect on all the behavior you do when you are fighting. When the fight starts, what is the trigger point, what triggers you the most? You have to see that and you have to reflect on that. Then you will be able to understand what is the root cause of the whole problem. And only then, once you identify the root cause, only then you will be able to find the solution, actual solution of the problem, actual solution of all those fights. But first you have to pause and sit down with yourself and reflect on your behavior. Number 5, set ground rules for yourself. That means you will not be yelling, you will not be calling names, you will not be taking the reference from the past fights. You are not going to do that. Set some rules for yourself when you are talking with him, communicating with him, what rules you are going to follow. Set those rules for yourself. Number 6, always go with intent of resolving the issue. Go with the solution mindset. Don't go with that complaining, nagging, bashing, pulling him down. Don't do these things when you are talking with him. That's it for today's video. I hope it was helpful. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I will see you in my next video. Take care. Bye bye.